All right, folks, we'll get started. Thank you for waiting. I am Darshan Desai. I'm a program manager in Microsoft within the customer and partner success team for business applications. And today we are going to discuss the recent changes we announced in the update policies as well as the update cadence for Dynamics 365. And some of these changes have not like have already been rolled. I have already been rolling out for the last few months. It is just that we are formalizing it and we're discussing it now. And we will talk about what some of the changes are, what the key takeaways are, how you should think about updates going forward, and get ready, as well as uh, what are the key timelines to keep in mind. And this should be we want this to be an interactive discussion. So I have other folks from my team. We have Pervin and Ramana in the room. We have other folks on the call as well, who can answer your questions if you type them in the chat window. And we can take some of the questions online in the call as well towards the end. Okay, with that, let me go ahead, share my screen and bring up I have a few slides. So let me start doing that. I'll give it a minute for the sharing to go through. Can you see my screen okay? All right. So let's get started. So first, we'll talk about what is changing, right? As in, if and what are sort of the key takeaways here, and give you sort of the highlights of the big changes or the key changes. And then let's talk about a little more about how should you think of it. What does this mean to you for both from a customer engagement perspective as well as a finance and operations perspective? How will these changes sort of impact you going forward, what you should do differently, and so on. And then the third thing we'll talk about is what are some of the aspects that Microsoft is investing in supporting you, and as partners and customers, how you should take benefit of that, advantage of that, and think about readiness for updates. The finally we'll talk about, hey, what is the next step, right? What are the key takeaways and what you should start doing right now. And then we can do Q&A along the way in the chat window as we go. And also we can bring up some of the questions at the very end. We also have published a list of frequently asked questions based on our interactions. We had this very same talk at the Business Applications Summit in Seattle a couple of weeks back. So a recording of that is available too. And we have documented frequently asked questions. But if there are additional questions, happy to answer them on the call or even later, right? We can have this continuous discussion in the Dynamics community. So let's dive right in. So if you were to take away three big things, right, from today about what's changing, they are the following. So going forward, we will have two major updates per year. And when I say going forward, we started doing this year itself. We will have two major updates, April and October. And these, when we say major updates, these are updates which will bring in new features, light up new functionality, and so on, right? So this April, we had our April update for all Dynamics 365 applications and the platform, right, including customer engagement, finance and operations, business central, so on and so forth, and talent, and so on and so forth. And the next big update is coming this October, and this is a pattern that will continue every year, right? So we have two major updates. In addition to the major updates, we will have minor updates throughout the year on a continuous update cycle. We'll talk more about the details later, but the minor updates will bring in performance fixes, performance improvements, bug fixes, any issues that you might have reported, and even some minor features will be delivered throughout the year. Okay, we are going with a continuous update cycle. So that's the first thing, two major updates. The second thing to keep in mind is, in order to get ready for these releases and for the updates, for the major updates, we are going to provide early visibility and access so that you can get ready. And this is also something that we have just started, and we are going to continue our investment here and do even more to help you get ready. We are going to provide early visibility in the form of release notes, which we will publish months in advance, which detail out every single next April onwards, we are going to give you pre-release bits in terms of in deployed in sandboxes ahead of time before a major release, so that you can go ahead and validate your customizations and other things and be prepared for a release before it starts rolling out, right? So from that perspective, we're going to give you early visibility and access. So this is the second big highlight and a positive step that an investment that we are making, so that you can get ready for a release. And the third big thing is one version, which means we made changes to our support policies in July. And I have detailed slides on this. We'll talk about the timelines and so on. So going forward, we have timelines where we want all of our customers who are on Dynamics 365 online to get onto the latest product version, because that is the version that will be supported. And we'll talk about the specifics for both customer engagement and our unified operations, as well as for our on-premises, right? What's the story here? But essentially, the long story short here is that we want all our customers to be on the latest version, so everybody can benefit from the latest performance improvements and from the latest features. We call this thing as one version, right? So these are the sort of three big takeaways. And in the next 45-50 minutes or so, we will drill down into the details of each of these areas and what it means for you, from how does this impact you and how can you get ready. Okay, so our goal, as we have mentioned in all of these slides, is to make our releases more predictable. We told you that we'll have two major releases, we'll have and more continuous in nature, right? So that we are not following a big bang approach. Okay, so that's the top three highlights. Two major releases per year. We are providing you early visibility and access, and we are moving to a one version for the service. So with that, let's move on to the next section here, saying what does this mean to you, which is really about the first thing told, like the first section talked about what are the changes, and here we are going to talk about why we are making them and how we are delivering them and when, right? So this is what we are going to talk about, the details and the specifics here. So before we dive too much into the how and the when part, I want to spend a little bit of time, a couple of minutes, talking about why we are making these changes. And I will just hit on some of these points and bring up this slide at the very end too, when it will be clear as to how some of those turn into benefits. But essentially, we are doing these changes because we heard updates and the way we roll out updates and the lack of visibility into what's coming next as like a big pain point. In fact, it was one of the top pain points that we heard from our customers and partners alike. So what are some of the problems that we heard? And the changes we are making is in direct response to that, in order to address those and translate some of those problems into take some of those problems and translate them into benefits going forward, right? And actually solve those problems. So for partners, this whole cadence, the new update cadence, the update process, and the support windows should mean that you have lower supportability costs, because all our customers will be on the same version and so on. You should, both our partners as well as customers would love that you'll get early visibility and access to these updates, and we'll talk about the specifics later. And finally, especially for our ISV partners, this update cadence means all the customers are going to be on the latest version, and that gives you additional time for spending on innovation and building out new features and functionality into your apps and your solutions, rather than trying to support multiple versions of the product and spending a whole lot of time with that matrix. These are the top three things for our partners. For our customers, we heard loud and clear that our updates are too expensive and they are too time consuming, right? So this new changes should drastically reduce update costs, both from a time and from a effort perspective that's needed for validating and for deploying updates. It gives all our customers an opportunity to opt in to new features early, because these will be made available to all our customers on the latest version, right? Like 2 times in a year, every customer will get a major update, and so they can choose to opt into new features like soon. And finally, with our continuous update cadence, all our customers should get performance fixes, reliability fixes sooner, and whenever you report an issue, you should expect a quicker turnaround for that to be deployed since you're on the latest version. So all our customers should get a better performance, reliability, and support experience. So these things are sort of some of the clear benefits of why we are doing this. And now let's go talk about the specifics as to how we are doing this, how is and what exactly is changing and when, and then let's come back and see how we realize how some of these benefits. I think you'll be able to appreciate that a little more. At the end, I'll summarize or end with this slide again. Okay, so before we go deep into the timelines, I want to touch upon some of the key points in the new update process, or what has changed recently or is changing, right, from an update process point of view. So this is sort of the how we are deploying these updates. And when we talk about this update process, this is not just a PR exercise, or we are just communicating, documenting stuff. We are making large investments in how we do our engineering and operations within Microsoft, right, in order to support in our DevOps models to support this new update process. And this is not a change that has happened overnight or will happen overnight. We have started making these investments in the last 6 months, and we will continue doing these investments for the next 6 months, 6 to 12 months, until we fully realize this and make this smooth. Okay, so the first one is around continuous deployments. And what does continuous deployments mean? So in the past, right, what we have done is what we called upgrades or CDUs in the customer engagement world, and also upgrades in the finance and operations world. We have always had a big bang approach, which is every 6 months we'll make a new whole drop available, and it was a wholesale. You have to upgrade your database, you have to upgrade your apps, you have to upgrade your customizations, and it was like a monolithic deployment. So if we look at modern SaaS services, if you look at Azure or Office 365, or even some of the other leading SaaS services in the industry, this is not how SaaS services do their deployments. So in SaaS, now we are moving more to a true SaaS model, where what we are going to do is the changes are going to get rolled out on a continuous basis. So every week or every month or with a regular cadence, there will be deployments which will bring in bug fixes, performances, and also features, but they will all be behind a feature flag. So you will not see any of these changes light up and features come and disrupt you in these weekly deployments, but the code would be there and it would be baked, and then we will turn them on in the major releases, right? So essentially our deployments are more continuous, they are more streamlined. So the these should be much more smoother, and it's not just a wishful thinking. We also have telemetry, and we are monitoring our deployments. Customer engagement has already moved to this model of continuous deployments for version 9.0. And here we are monitoring our deployments and monitoring the issues that come after that and so on. And we notice that our updates are getting smoother and smoother along the way. And that's one of the big benefits of actually bringing bits or deploying code in small chunks, as opposed to one big monolithic payload at 6 months. So that's the first thing. And we have already done this change in customer engagement, and finance and operations is making all the investments to get here. They also already have monthly deployments, but sort of essentially deploy in a continuous update model. The second aspect, and we are spending a lot of time in investments here, is around backwards compatibility, which means the updates should not break any of your customizations or any of our ISV apps or our integrations with both first party, such as integrations with Office or LinkedIn, or even third-party services, right, via connectors. So essentially, whenever we do updates, we guarantee that your existing customizations will will continue to work, will not break. And if there are any breaking changes in our APIs and so on, they need to be versioned cleanly, so that existing existing customizations and apps would continue to work, and the new, if any app wants to take advantage of the new feature, they would have to target the new version of the API. So this is, again, this is, I think this is not a net new promise. uh, this this sort of promise always existed, but we are taking this much more seriously. And in the world of continuous updates and automatic updates, we don't have a choice but do this sort of, that we cannot, you should not expect, even with major or minor updates, you should not expect any of your customizations to be broken, or any of your like extensions that you have done, either apps that you have installed, to be broken at all. The verification and validation that we expect you to do, which we'll discuss later, is more for your peace of mind and to ensure that for you to double check from your side, but the expectation is that none of it is broken and they're always compatible. The third aspect is around how we roll out these deployments. And this is a proven, very well time-tested methodology within Microsoft, what we call safe deployments. So if any of you have good experience with Azure, you're administrators and you have services from Azure, or even Office 365, you might have seen this. So this is essentially having deployment rings. So for example, we are on the customer engagement side, our deployments will take total of 5 weeks, both minor and major, to reach the whole world. And on the finance and operations side, it's 6 weeks that to reach the whole world. So the first weekend, we go and deploy in an internal environment, or what we call the first release environment, where within Microsoft, we go ahead and test it, and we also give customers an opportunity of coming into that environment and testing out that things are working as expected. And then we gradually expand. The next week, we go to one or two more regions, and then we go to two regions, right? And like, for example, and we go to the regions with the least number of customers first, and then we gradually expand. So we go to our North America and Europe regions last, for example. So this way, what we are doing is, each week we are going and reaching out to a larger and larger set of customers, and along the way, we are listening for feedback actively, and we do monitoring and testing from Microsoft from our side, as well as we look for any support tickets or issues reported by customers and partners. And if there are any breaking changes, we'll just stop the deployment right there. We'll make those fixes, and for this particular set of customers and for the next set of customers too. And we can make sure that our changes are, if there are any unforeseen issues, that a large number of customers don't get affected as part of that. It's always contained to a small number of customers, and then we fix those. And each then when we go next week to the next set of regions, we are more confident, and this has already been tested by a bunch of customers and partners in production already, right? So that's what we call safe deployments. It's deploying gradually out in rings, and not going to the entire world on a single weekend and blasting everybody out. And if there is an issue, that everybody would have a problem, right? So that's safe deployments, that we gradually do a gradual rollout. The next important point is admin-driven opt-in to try out new features, and this is an important one. This is something we haven't really done in the past. So essentially, for the platform-related updates, uh, for updates that do not make any changes to the user experience, for performance fixes, for our bug fixes, they are just deployed as part of our weekly updates. Everybody gets them. You don't have a choice. You can't turn it off. You can't opt out. Like, everybody just gets them, right? And this should not affect your end users. But for any UX or UI features that affect the user experiences for our end users, for your end users, actually, what we do is, we'll deploy these features, but admins have to go and opt in to try out these new features. We are not going to go and by default change the user experiences. And a good example on for this is unified interface within customer engagement. The 9.0 update for people who are on the older versions and updating to 9.0, for example, you have unified interface, but then admin has to go in and redo and test this out, right, and deploy all your forms within unified interface for your users to get it. We are not going to go change. As long as they don't do that, we are not going to go and change the default experience for your end users, so that you don't have to be worried about disruption for your end users, or and you get enough time for readiness and training and so on for your end users before they take advantage of sort of the new features which make changes to the user experience. So this is a new thing, and this is another principle that we will stick to for any features with disruptive user experience. The next point is about business continuity. And this is a very common question that we have gotten over the last month as we talk about this, saying, hey, all of this sounds really great, but what if I am broken and I have an issue with a customization, with whatever, some unforeseen issue that was not supposed to be there, and will you still roll out the update and then just leave me in a broken state? And the answer is, as a principle and a promise, we want to have business continuity, and we want our customers to have business continuity and not leave you in a broken state. So we are going to make every effort to work with you in the time frame and fix, as long as you have done your part of validating and reporting the issue in time. We want to make every effort from our side to make sure that we resolve the issue for you or provide you a workaround or a solution, so that you are not your business is not down, or like Dynamics 365 is not down for you, or your apps are not in a broken state when these updates roll out, right? And that is another important. This is very, very important to us. The goal of updates is to make all of this make this whole process better for you and not worse. And finally, what about deprecations? In the rare events where we have to remove some functionality or features, and this is not something that should be very regular or common, but we would have to do this sometimes due to either legal or compliance reasons, and sometimes due to other, like, whatever business reasons. If we have to remove a functionality or feature, the automatic updates won't just turn off or shut down functionality. We will give you 12 months advance notice. We will tell you that after an alternate solution is provided, right? We'll say, hey, for example, in this October, if we announce that this October, okay, we are deprecating a certain feature A, and you will have to in order to take advantage of that, you'll have to go back and change your implementations to do B instead. And if we say that, we are then going to deprecate it 12 months later, that is in October 2019. So you have good enough time window to go ahead and make these changes. And from our side, we'll be continuously monitoring telemetry and working with you to make sure that you are actually able to go and make these changes in this particular time window. And then it will be deprecated or pulled out. So this way, you don't have to worry about the automatic updates coming and automatically removing or taking out features. Okay, so these are some of the important nuances or factors I wanted to start off by sharing, saying these are changes Microsoft is making from our side, or we have already made into our DevOps practices in how we do our deployments. And I think these are important to see when we go into the timelines and so on of this, because this is how the new updates will be rolled out. Okay, so that's pretty much what I wanted to cover as part of this slide. Are there? I am looking at Ramana. Are there any questions in this aspect?
No, as of now, no questions.
Okay, fantastic. So let's move on. So now let's talk about with all of that background and context. Let's look at how we are going to do major updates. So I said we'll have major updates in October and April. So first, what we are going to do is we're going to provide early visibility with release notes. And the release notes, we'll talk about each of these steps, will be provided months in advance, which tells you what's part of the upcoming release. And starting in April 2019, right? Not for this October, but the next release, April 2019 onwards, we are going to make sandboxes available in advance where you can take the exact update, the major update, and try it out. Make sure your customizations work, your apps work, functionality works with your in a production like environment, and validate that this works for you before the actual update. And then we are going to give you a time window where you can opt in and say, I want to schedule my production update on this particular date. And finally, if you have not if you have whether once you have done these things, or even if you have not done these things or opted into a production update, we are going to roll this out automatically. So every single customer of Dynamics 365 is going to get updated to the latest version, right? So release notes, sandboxes, or in other words, plan, test, and update, right? These are sort of our three steps, and the update is broken out into two phases: opt-in and automatic updates. So the next very valid question here, or natural question here, is, hey, when are exactly these milestones happening? So by the end of this year, we will publish the timelines for April 2019 update. We will tell you when we will have release notes ready for you, when we will have sandboxes available, and when you can opt in these updates. So you will have time to plan out from your side. You can get resources lined up, and you know that, you know what, I want to do this kind of update in this week, and so on. And from your side, you can do planning so that you can have bandwidth to do this as well. So we want to make sure we help you in getting ready there. But so these are sort of our steps for major updates. For minor updates, we will not have these steps. We just roll them out every week. They contain predominantly performance improvements and bug fixes, and they will just be applied. We will not have release notes or sandboxes specifically for our minor releases. Okay, so this is I think one of the most important slides here. If you are not already on the latest version. So for our customers and our partners who are not on the latest version, you need to pay attention here, because this slide summarizes the changes we made to the support policies and the dates until which they're supported. So for our customer engagement apps, and what do we mean by customer engagement apps? It includes Dynamics 365 for sales, marketing, customer service, field service, project service, as well as the underlying platform, right? So if you are on version 8.1, I think there are still very few customers running 8.1. Your updates are already scheduled, right? And you will be moving to 9.0. If you are on version 8.2 running online, then you need to update to latest, that is to the version 9.0 by January 31st, 2019. Your administrator should have already received an email in July saying you need to go schedule this update. If you haven't yet scheduled an update, go ahead and schedule it ASAP. If not, we are going to schedule it on your behalf and intimate you that we have scheduled an update on this particular date. Post January 31st, 2019, we are not going to support version 8.2 online, right? We are ending that support. Only the latest, and then onwards until eternity, we are only going to support the latest version of the product, of the service in production, which is currently v9.0. And for customers on v9.0, you're already on the latest. You don't have to do anything. In October, we will have an October update for v9.0. It will be an automatic update. It will be deployed. You don't have to do anything. And in April, you can expect our April update, which will be called v10.0. Okay, and then we'll talk about the April milestones a little later. You'll get sandboxes, release notes, sandboxes, and notice for April 19. But essentially, you're on the latest version already. For our customers with unified operations apps, which includes finance and operations and retail, this is sort of the picture. So currently, we have customers running v7.0, 7.1, 7.2, 3, and 8.0. So for all of these customers, you need to update to the latest version, that is v10.0, which will be released which is coming early next year by March 31st, 2019, right? Because that is the date when we are ending support for all of these versions. The only exception here is if you are on a v7.x, which is 7.012 or 3, and you have an extension request, which because we have changed the extensibility model in 8.0, if you have an unfulfilled extension request, that is, you have officially logged the extension request and Microsoft has acknowledged that, okay, we are working on it and we have not yet fulfilled what you've done, then you can continue to be, only then you can continue to be on v7.3 for an additional year up to April 2020, by which time we will fulfill such your extension request and you need to move to the latest. So our October update here will be called v8.1 and our April update would be 10.0. So come April 2019, both customer engagement and unified operations will be on version 10.0, and we expect all our customers to update to the latest version, because only the latest version will be supported, also for finance and operations and retail here, right? So this applies to both customer engagement and finance and operations, and sort of these are the timelines. Okay, so what about Business Central or Talent? If you are using these apps, they already are on continuous updates. We do not have any customers there who are on older versions, and we are not making any changes to the support policy. The support policy always is already in the modern support policy, which is supporting, which means we support only the latest version, and updates get rolled out on a very continuous basis. They'll also adhere to having major releases in October and April with continuous updates throughout the year, and so absolutely no changes. You don't have to do anything. There is no impact for customers who are using Business Central or Talent. All right, and so what about on-premises deployments? A very, very important question, and like this is by far the number one question we have got, because we know that a lot of you out there are still using our on-premises deployments. So Dynamics 365 customer engagement apps, the changes that we described, the April and October update, does not apply to on-premises updates, which means that on-premises we will still continue to release updates, but it is not that, but we are not changing the support life cycle, which does not mean that every 6 months you need to move to the latest or anything like that. Basically, it'll continue to be on the existing support life cycle. Our releases will be supported for 5 years and so on. The next major on-premises update is coming by the end of this year, in the last quarter of this year, somewhere between October and December. So that is the 9.0 update for on-premises, which will bring in all the features that have shipped online since the last update. And so this is we will have communication about this on-premises update in terms of what's coming, what's part of it, and how you should get ready for it soon. But for but the policies that we talked about, continuous updates and sort of support policy changes, do not apply to our on-prem customers for customer engagement. But a new update is coming later this year. Okay. For finance and operations, the story is slightly different. And here for finance and operations, the on-premises support policy was already aligned with online, which means on-prem followed a modern support policy. And this means that even on-prem, you're expected, just like the cloud, you're expected to move to the latest version. We will deliver updates twice a year, and we expect you to move to the latest version, and only the latest version would be supported. And the same timelines that we shared earlier, we have similar timelines for on-prem too, and we have already documented them in our support policy. The only difference for on-prem is, in the online world, we will deploy those updates automatically. If you have an on-premises deployment, the onus is on you. We will make the updates available. The onus is on you to take these updates and deploy them in your environment, right? But that's a slight difference in the on-prem world for customer engagement and finance and operations. But sort of that's why I wanted to talk about this specifically and in detail. Okay, and I hope that makes sense. All right, so that's sort of the changes and the timelines of when we are rolling that out. So that's all like the facts about what changes we are making in detail and when we are rolling them out. In the next few slides, for the next 5-10 minutes, I want to talk about readiness and what the changes we are making in order to support you along the journey, for you to get more prepared and more ready in order to get these updates. Okay, and how and what are sort of some of the best practices from your side as well that you should start thinking and planning ahead of time, in order to make this a smooth experience all around. So the first thing is about early visibility, and this is delivered in terms of release notes. So if you haven't already looked at it, you should absolutely go to the URL, and we have a short URL which is right there on the top, aka.ms/business apps release notes. And this is and we have made release notes available both in the form of interactive web experience where you can browse through every single feature, and in the form of a PDF where you can download a single large PDF of all the features that are coming. So we released, let me show you this really quickly. So for example, if I go here to that URL right now, aka MS Business Apps Release Notes, this is what we have here as the October 18 release notes. So here you can go in and look at what are all the new features that are coming in Dynamics 365 for marketing, for sales, service, social engagement, finance and operations, talent, retail, we have some new apps coming for mixed reality, right? We have power and the whole platform. We have power apps, for example, Flow and Power BI, and so on, and all our connectors and gateways with respect to data integration. So basically it details out, right? And you can look at a summary, and you can also go and look at the details of every single feature, right? And we have screenshots wherever they are available, and so on. So basically this gives you detail about every single feature that's shipping as part of the October release. And we have made this available on July 23rd, which is like 3 months before the features are actually available, and specifically to provide you early visibility into what's coming at a very, very detailed level. And we want to continue doing this. So we want to do this for April release too. Somewhere early next year, we will make release notes available so that you can start planning for that release. And this is going to be a continuous cycle going forward. So please go through them, go through the areas that are relevant for you, for the apps that you are using, the features that you are interested in, so you can get an idea of what's coming, and make a note of what functionality or features do you want to take advantage of, right? So that you can get ready. So this is sort of the early visibility part, right? We are giving you early visibility into what's coming as part of a release. The next thing that you can do to get ready is about early access, and getting early access is a good way to do this is to join our insider program. So if you are interested, both partners and customers are welcome to sign up for our insider program. And that's the URL right there. It's experience.dynamics.com/insider. And within insiders, we do have two kinds of programs. And very soon, we are revamping some of the terminology that we are using. Right now, if you log in, you will not see the term first release there, but you will see it in this structure soon. And the folks here in the room with me are working on making sure that's true, along with the rest of the team. So the first kind of programs you will see in the insider program is previews. And previews give you access to new capabilities and new apps. And we have both private previews, which are invitation only, and public previews, which are open to everybody. And here you can see, hey, you looked at the release notes. Here is new functionality that's coming. Where can I go try it out? You can go sign up and get a preview of the new app that's coming or a new feature that's coming out, and you can provide feedback early in the cycle. You can test it out, report issues, you can get ready, right? That's the purpose of previews. So the next program, which we currently have for finance and operations, it's called CAP, C-A-A-P, CAP, right? Yeah. And then it's going to come soon for customer engagement. We are going to rebrand this thing to be called First Release. This is pretty important, and this is actually in direct response to a request from a lot of customers and partners who said, hey, you're rolling out all of these major and minor updates. Can I get a chance to test this before you apply this to my production? Can I get a chance to validate it and make sure it does not break anything in my production environment, so that I can be doubly sure and sleep at night, right? Rest assured that when this update is rolled out into production, my users are not broken, right? So we are going to let you do exactly that. So you can have an environment in the first release region which could be a sandbox or a replica of your production. And what we are going to do is we are going to give you updates, the exact same version of the updates like major and minor. We're going to deploy it in that environment weeks before it gets deployed into your production. So this is every single update, major or minor. You are going to get it weeks, 1 to n weeks, depending on which region your environment is deployed in, before it is applied in your production, so that you can actually go ahead and once it's update, once that environment, once you have that update, you can go ahead, try it out, and see if everything is working as expected. Or if you are particularly concerned about a specific feature, you can go test it out, and then it gets into your production. And if you find any issues, we will give you a way to automatically create a high priority ticket for us so that it is addressed before we roll it out into your production. So this is already live for finance and operations. And for customer engagement, this is coming soon. We are working on enabling this. We will start rolling out this first in a controlled set, by invitation only, and then as soon as we have capacity, we will open it out to in the coming months to the entire world. Okay, so these are two programs which you can take advantage of. Some of them you can start signing up right today, and some of these are coming soon, where you can go ahead and get early access to the bits before they are deployed in production or before the rest of the world sees this. That's sort of what's today or in the near future. So the next big thing we are doing with respect to early access for major updates only is the ability to validate major updates in a full sandbox environment. And this is going to be starting April 2019, right? This is not going to be true for this October release, but starting from the April release, what we will do is before a major update is applied into production, we are going to make it available in a sandbox environment for you, right? Where you can verify your customizations, your integrations, your ISV apps, and report any issues, get them fixed. The key benefit would be this would be a prod-like environment in your region where we are going to make this available, where you can go test this out and get ready for new features, and when you opt in to update your production environment, you can do that with confidence. So stay tuned for details about this, both the timelines of when we will have updates ready for sandboxes and how to deploy these updates in sandboxes, etc. We are working out all the details on that, and we are making all the engineering changes on our site in order to support this. We will roll this out by the end of the year. Expect communication from us, and this is going to start for the April 2019 update, which means you should expect to have sandboxes well before April 2019 so that you can test this out and be ready for the release. Okay, so that's sort of a quick summary of both early visibility in terms of release notes and early access in terms of first release, previews, and sandbox environments that you can take advantage of in order to get ready for the release. And this slide summarizes all the resources that we have for you, which are public, which you can go ahead and start leveraging. On the content side, the blog post is a good starting point. The Dynamics 365 updates blog, and that's the short link, the URL there, is where we have summarized sort of almost most of the things that I've said in the call today, starting from one version, starting from the support policy changes to how we do continuous updates. We have summarized them, and we have also links to other resources from there. We did that in early July, a month back. And then we also have documented a bunch of frequently asked questions, and this is something we intend to keep adding and keeping this live and updated. It is on our docs site. So again, if you see there is a question that's missing there, please reach out to us through the community or through other sources, and we will go ahead and add some of the questions there. That's on the content side. Release notes, I already talked about that. That's a short link URL there. Bookmark it. Like every time there's an update, we keep updating the release notes too. We publish this on July 23rd, and we will keep making updates on a continuous basis. As feature functionality is released, please expect release notes to be the source of truth of what's coming, when, and what's already shipped, right? Throughout the release, throughout the update, and for each major update, we will have a new release notes that's published right before the release ships. Inside a program, I already talked about it. sign up for previews, first releases, first release, and so on. That's the URL. You can go sign up and accept to the terms, some sort of an NDA, and then you are in. And in addition to this, we are also going to make testing tools available for you. For customer engagement apps, Easy Repro is already available, which sort of takes your functional tests, automates them, and lets you play them back, right? And this is like, that's the URL there. It's on GitHub. You can start leveraging this right now, and we are going to work on improving this and make this even better. So essentially, that should be a way when you want to validate these updates. Hey, the manual testing still takes a lot of time. This should help you automate some of your test cases so that you can quickly go and validate a new release. And a very similar thing on for FNO. It's called, I think the current placeholder name is Regression Suite Automation Tool. And this is again a set of automation tests to go ahead and make sure your functional scenarios are working for a new release, and that the team is currently working on it. It is going to be made available soon on the Insider program. Sign up for the Insider program to get news on this, as well as start using it when it is available. Okay, so these are a bunch of resources for you so that you can start getting ready for the new releases, and a sort of best practices going forward on how you should think of validating the releases before validating major updates before they're deployed. So as a uh, so as a principle, think of it that, hey, twice a year, April and October, we will have these major updates, and you need to do it's better. There is no mandatory action on your part, because the updates will automatically reach you. But it is always really good for you if you actually take proactive action, validate these, and go ahead and schedule them, so that it's a much smoother experience for you when we roll out this update. All right, so the final section really about what you need to do, start doing right now, right? So all of this in the past, so far we talked about what changes are coming, how we are rolling them out, when we are doing them. Okay, what should you do next, right? I want to give you one concrete slide of if you want to say, hey, what is your immediate call to action? If you are on older versions, right? If you are on 8.2 for customer engagement, or on an older version in finance and operations, please go ahead, schedule the update to the latest version ASAP, right? Don't delay this step. We support, we talked about the timelines there until the date until which we support it, but don't wait until the last day. Scheduling an update early would give you a long runway. Say, hey, if you face any issues while you're testing out, going to the major update and so on, so that you're not in a time crunch to go resolve those. Okay, so go ahead and schedule an update to the latest version, and also because you can take benefits of our continuous updates much sooner. And for folks who are on the latest version, in October 18, you will get the October 18 update, right? And for the October 18 update, we already have published release notes. So go ahead, review it if you haven't already, and see what features are coming, and so that you can start getting ready for that. Join our Insider program for previews. Leverage the testing tools which are already available there, as well, which we talked about in the previous slide. And from an update perspective, sign up for a first release in the Insider program, which means that you can test the update before it rolls out into your production environment. So from this perspective for October, these are the three big steps, right? That you can do in order to get ready. From April 19 onwards, we have yet another addition to this, which is in the testing phase or validation phase. You can validate these major updates in a sandbox environment, which we will share the details about this later. Where here, so that's another additional step. And from update perspective, we'll give you the flexibility to schedule a production update as per your convenience before it is automatically applied in your environment, right? So these are two additional steps so that you can get ready and update with confidence from an April perspective. But essentially, plan by reviewing release notes, sign up for early access, test it ahead of time, and then go ahead and update your production with confidence. So these are our three big steps that we will share for customers on the latest version, and for everybody on the older version, move to the latest schedule to the latest version ASAP. Okay, so this is literally my last slide again, and this was something we started off with. And now I want to circle back, bring this all back together, and say how we have realized this, like how each of these points are addressed. So, for our partners, what are some of our benefits? All of our customers will move to the latest version, and hence, for partners, your customers will also be on the latest version, and this will lower your supportability costs. And we have talked in detail about how we provide early visibility and access to updates, and this should help in planning and getting ready and validating the updates ahead of time. And finally, for our ISV partners, all your customers will be on the latest version, which will increase your reach in terms of the number of customers who are using your app and reduce like the time that is spent in your support, which means you can increase your innovation and increase taking advantage of the new features, build new capabilities. For our implementation partners, this means that, hey, all your customers are on the latest version. They have access to the latest features. You can go ahead and work with them and implement these features and provide additional value to customers and increase innovation there, right? Build new solutions on top of it. For our customers, the we are moving away completely. We have moved away from the world of monolithic, big, once in 6 months updates that can come and possibly break everything. So we have moved to a continuous update model, and we are following safe deployment practices and with all of the modern DevOps practices so that it's smooth. So from your update costs from moving from one version to other to the next one, it should be drastically reduced. So it's reduced update costs both in terms of the time and effort you need to spend in validating the update. We give you by we are bringing all our customers to the latest version, and by doing this, you have an opportunity to get the new features and to opt in to start using them early, because so far the release notes, all the new features that were coming in the April update, if you are on an older version, let's say for example you are on customer engagement version 8.2, you could not take advantage of the new features which were in 9.0 at all until you did a major upgrade. But going forward, everybody is on the latest version. You could decide to take advantage of any feature at any point of time and way early in the cycle so that you can realize that value sooner. And finally, all of our performance, reliability, and our fixes are going on to the latest version, deployed as continuous updates. You should get these right away. And any issues that you have faced and reported will also get fixed and deployed on a continuous basis. So you should expect an overall much better performance, reliability, and support experience for your org and for your users, right? So these are some of the key benefits. We have a few more, but I wanted to highlight top 3 benefits for our partners and for our customers, which are addressing today's pain points and then turning them actually into benefits, into a much smoother experience for you. So this means that you need to take some action on your side too, as we've talked about in the previous slide. And then once you take this action, get on to the latest version, like and plan for these 2 big updates every year. Then we are in this new world, and here these are the benefits that you can reap, and we'll all have benefits together. We see this as a win-win situation. So that was literally my last slide, and so that's pretty much what I had for today. Are there any questions that are outstanding? We have answered. Was there any one or two that we want to bring up that you want to bring up that we can address here as well? Yes. For folks joining later?
There was one.
So one is around the sandboxes availability on the October release. We had mentioned that.
Okay, so let me repeat the question. So the question was about when will sandboxes be available for October? We said the sandboxes are going to be available for April 2019 onwards. For October 2018, we will not have sandboxes ahead of time. Once the release is made available, you can then deploy it in your sandboxes or production environments, but we'll not have that ahead of time.
So the other question is about, is it possible to get an update to the clone of the production instance instead of fresh sandbox instance? I believe that is for the first release, so which means that they can take a copy of a production.
Yeah. So the question is, can we clone your production? Can we get a copy of your production instead of a brand new sandbox? In your first release program, that's very much our intention, where you can take a copy of your first release production environment, deploy it in first release so that you can get these updates early. So yes, that should be possible. The details of that will be shared soon as we make the first release program available more broadly, right? And sign up for the Insiders program.
And the third one is about, where can we turn off on the new features. Once we have the features in the sandbox environment, is it possible to turn them off? It's a question. So which you answered like using the admin center, we can turn them off.
Okay, sounds good. So I think we have only a couple of minutes left, and I thank every one of you who joined us live, and many more of you who will be watching this recording later. I hope you find this useful. If you have any questions, you can join the discussion at community.dynamics.com. You can go there. You can ask additional questions, report feedback, and through all the other channels where you're giving us feedback. We're happy. This is a dialogue. We're happy to continue this discussion going forward. And hopefully, you found this useful, and you can take advantage of our continuous updates and the new update cadence. So with that, I think we're done here. So we're signing off. Thank you all for watching this webcast again. Thank you.